Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay, thanks. And yourself?
I'm doing well. Doing well.
How's your morning so far? It is morning where you are.
It's noon here right now. So,
It's noon, noon, noon.
yeah.
You in Canada? Canada.
I'm in Pennsylvania, the United States.
Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania. Okay, cool. Nice
Yeah.
to meet you and thank you for coming on to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I love it when they come on and they're smiling away. So much energy already at the start.
Well, why not? Why not? There's enough negative energy in the world. I don't need to contribute to it. So,
Yeah, yeah. Nah, 100%, 100%. That's like, the importance of gratitude each and every single day, no matter what you may be going through. If you're here right now and you're alive and it's a beautiful day, why not smile about it?
there is always something to be grateful for.
Yeah,
Yes.
100%, 100%. So, yeah, we are going to have quite an interesting conversation based on what I've learned about you so far. But
Okay.
yeah, let's go back to day one. Let's start with you. How did you get to this point of your creative process? Where did it all start for you?
It started I was in my late 20s, I believe. As I never looked at myself or thought of myself or even considered being a writer or anything like that when I was younger. It was
Yeah,
just,
yeah, yeah,
never entered my mind.
yeah,
I went into the military right out of high school
yeah,
and came home, married my high school sweetheart, had a daughter, and life, you know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I it was years later. I was in a networking group, and one of the ladies had asked me if I would like to participate in an anthology that she was coordinating and putting together, called Inspire. And she asked me to participate with a chapter, and so I did that. And then that kind of sparked a little something, because I was thinking, that was kind of cathartic, sharing a personal story, hard but cathartic as well. And I'm like, you know, maybe, maybe I can look at this writing thing a little more. And then I didn't, you know. Then I was asked to give a speech years later. I was asked to, because I'm a veteran, and I was asked to give a speech at a very large veteran event that we were having in my local area. And I had to write the speech. And it was a personal speech about my grandfather being the last surviving World War I veteran in my area. And so I did a lot of research and found out a lot of stuff about World War I and him and where he was at. And then I shared that speech in front of this very large crowd. I'd never given a speech. I'd never public spoke before. So it was all new. I just jumped in, and at the end of the speech, and there was, television cameras there, newspapers, it was just 800 people plus. And when I got done with my speech, it was total silence. And I thought, oh, I blew it. And then the crowd erupted. And then when I looked around, people were crying. And I was like, oh, wow, they got it. They understood the story I just shared. And I had the local newspaper approach me and say, hey, would you consider or be interested in writing a monthly column on veterans issues or about veterans for the newspaper? And I said, I'm not a writer. But thank you for asking, but I'm not a writer. And he said, who wrote your speech? And I said, well, I did. And he said, well, you're a writer. And it was that little thing that stuck with me for a while, that someone saw something in me that I had never seen, that,
Yeah,
hey, I can weave some words together and make people feel something. So maybe I should continue doing that, because I don't have a college education on that. I was never trained in writing. I just write from the heart. Can I
yeah,
improve? Absolutely. I try and get better every day. I try and find all kinds of things like YouTube, and YouTube's awesome, by the way, for learning stuff.
yeah. True, true.
Yeah. So I get on to, I get into other groups and get on, trainings and free trainings and YouTube. And just trying to teach myself the craft of writing. And of course, the best way to learn is to just write, so that's
Yeah.
what I've been doing ever since. So, it's been a while. It's been a hot minute. It's been, a little while. And I hope I'm getting better at it.
Well, you're here now, and I mean, your book's up for awards. You're writing good content. So clearly, you definitely going down the right direction. You are doing something right.
Well,
That's for sure.
when you do something like that, and it feels right in your heart,
Yeah.
like the stories that I share are typically there's a little emotion in there,
Yeah.
and it might be from personal experience or I'm helping to share someone else's story. And I know that if something hits me hard or brings me to tears or makes me laugh out loud, if I can do that with my own words to folks, that's like the highest praise.
Yeah. Yeah.
If someone says, oh my goodness, I read that story and you just made me feel so much. And that is so humbling when someone says that to you. It's very, very humbling.
But that is so important in this day and age that we are living in. I mean, you use such an important word there, like emotion. That's what people want. You know, that's like, I mean, that's your objective as a creator, whether you're an author, whether you're a musician. Can you connect with people emotionally? Because that's what they want. Can you relate to me? Can you relate to what I'm going through in my life right now? And boom, that's it. You're in. And they're your fan for life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
It's like music. Music is a big part of my life and always has been. And there are certain songs that if I hear it, I know what year where it was at, what year it was. It's like the soundtrack to your life,
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've always been in awe of songwriters and then those who put the melody and harmonies together and use their voice and their instruments and to bring that all together and to make me sit here and just cry every time I hear the song.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that is just so, and I've always been in awe of that. And I never thought, and I still don't think, but I would love to get to a point where I can write a story, and when people they close that last page and close the book, they sit there and go, "Oh, I wish there was another one."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've never written fiction. I've written nonfiction, and I just finished my first fiction book, and that's a whole nother realm, writing fiction, with characters and dialogue and plot and all of that. So I just finished it, and I had someone do like a manuscript review for me, which is so helpful because it tells me exactly what I did wrong, what needs work, what I did great at, what I need to, flesh out a little bit more. And now it's time for, me to get to work, to do like the real work.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. When will it, I don't know when I'll have it published or anything like that, because it's a whole new thing for me. But it's real people having real life experiences with just a touch of magic in there. So I'm excited about it. So I'm kind of I'm stepping outside my comfort zone this year, but I'm thinking, well, why not?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Stepping out of your comfort zone can only bring benefits to your life, and it also teaches you things that you've never known about yourself as well, and what you're really capable of. The first, I wanted to say at the point when you told me that you never set out to be a writer, and then I laughed, is because it's becoming a trend on the show where authors come on and they're like, I never wanted to do this with my life, but then this happened, and here I am today.
Right.
It's a trend now. It's honestly a trend. And what you said about music is so true. I mean, have you ever had those moments where you're driving in your car, or you just jam into Spotify or Apple Music, and this track comes on and your brain automatically goes back to an incident that happened in your life, and you're like, yo, that was my anthem back then.
Yeah.
That was my anthem.
Yeah.
So with the military, is this related now to the PTSD that
Yes.
you've mentioned? Do you want to
Yes.
share something about that?
I briefly,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, I'm going to keep it
No,
brief.
no problem. Whatever you
Um,
comfortable with.
okay. Yeah. I do live with PTSD, and that is due to experiencing sexual assault while in the military. And that changes things for a person. People out there listening may know exactly what I'm talking about, how it changes. It changes how you view the world. It changes your levels of trust, if you're able to have it anymore. It changes your level of how you look at honor, integrity, and does it exist anymore? And then it also, that mind thing, it's amazing how the brain works. For me anyway, and I can only talk for my own self here. It made me question my own self and my own self-worth. And I had that negative voice hanging out with me for, a very, very, very long time. And then I realized, no, I don't want that voice hanging out anymore. It's not doing me any good. It's a waste of my energy to even acknowledge that it's there, this negativity. And, I was like, Kim, time to pull up your big girl panties, and take a deep breath and figure something out. And I wasn't able to do it on my own. I fell into a deep depression. I didn't realize that I had PTSD. I thought I was losing my mind. I didn't know. I didn't understand, why I was so depressed and so anxious all the time and having panic attacks. And all of a sudden I couldn't breathe, and, I couldn't walk through a parking lot without tensing up. And it was all just coming so much. And friends of mine who are Vietnam vets from the Vietnam War, they noticed me. I was part of the veteran post that in my local area, and they're the guys there, Vietnam vets. And they said, "Hey kid," and they call me kid, which I love. I'm in my late 50s and they still call me kid. I love it. But a couple of them who are very, very near and dear, they're my family. They approached me and said, "Hey kid, we don't know what's going on, but we recognize the symptoms. And we're going to take you to the VA, which is the Veteran Administration here in America. We're going to take you to the VA, kicking or screaming." And I said, not very nice words. "Don't need you. Don't need help. I'm fine. Leave me alone. Bleep, bleep, bleep." Insert any word you want. Pretty much is probably what I said. Because I had a lot of anger too I was carrying around with me. And I wasn't getting better. And I wasn't feeling better. And I realized I had to get better for my daughter, because I had a daughter, and I'm like, she's seeing her mommy fall apart, and I can't fall apart, and the guys approached me again, and I still was saying no for whatever reason. You get a mindset in there, and I'm sure somebody's out there listening, they know what I'm talking about. And they did drag me there kicking and screaming. And I will be forever grateful that they took me. And, that was so long ago. And now I can look back and see, I understand where my old self was coming from and why I felt the way I did. And I harbored no anger or anything for them taking me, basically they're like, "Get your ass in the car." I mean, I was going whether I wanted to or not. And it was a bumpy road, because at that time, and this was a while ago, at that time, there was nothing in place for female veterans, especially female veterans who had went through military sexual assault. There was nothing in place. There were no female counselors. There was nothing. So it was bumpy. It was a bumpy ride. That's probably the easiest way I can say it. But I'm glad I went through those bumps, because I learned a lot, as well as the counselor, who was a male, because there were no female counselors. He learned a lot. And he said, he was honest. He was very honest. And to this day, I'm grateful. He honestly said, we have nothing in place for you. We honestly don't know what to do with you. So we're going to have to learn together.
Wow.
And I just went, okay. I was still angry,
Yeah.
but we bumped along, and he did what he had to do on his end to be able to help me as a female veteran who had went through what I went through. He did what he had to do to get the training and stuff like that, and talk to other people to say, hey, this is needed. I have this female veteran. There's no way that she's the only one. There's no way she's the only one out there. And I was not, but it took a long time for things for female veterans to get put in place. Thankfully now today there it is, but it took a good 10 to 12 years for me to notice other things being put in place for females. But now there is, and I'm so open to and very, very empathetic to others who live with PTSD. And I can notice those symptoms, just like those guys back in the day looked at me and said, hey kid, we don't know what's wrong, but we see the symptoms. I can recognize those and then just, gently say, hey, do you need somebody to talk to? And so for the last 25 years, I've been a huge advocate for veterans, especially those that live with PTSD, and especially female veterans that live with PTSD. And through my veteran post, we send out care packages to those that are currently deployed all around the world for 25 years, each and every month. And so quietly on the back end, I do what I can to give that little nugget of hope to those folks out there that might be sitting in darkness.
Wow. You are seriously a strong woman to go through all of that.
Sometimes I feel like I am.
Yeah, no, you definitely are. I'm going to go a bit off topic here just for a bit. Because you focus on PTSD, especially for females within the military at the moment, and you're an advocate for it as well. I would love to invite you on another podcast, which is called Talking Back to Suicide. I co-host the podcast with a lady based in Oregon. And we've had one guest that's come on that's focused, the episode was focused on PTSD. He wasn't linked to the military due to other traumatic experiences in his life. I decided to bring him on to the podcast. But I would love for you to come on because I'm sure that there is a lot of suicidal thoughts for a female going through this in the military. Has to be. Did you have, any suicidal thoughts at that point in life?
I did not. What I had was tremendous anger. It was later, because I still talk to a counselor every once in a while, and there's no shame in that.
Yeah,
it's another thing I want people to realize. There's no shame in talking to a counselor because sometimes you have to look outside your own bubble sometimes.
Yeah.
Because it can get a little confusing in your bubble, but it was years later. Well, that was like just 5 years ago. So not that long ago, right before the pandemic, when the whole world went crazy. I was not feeling well. I had a lot of things personally going on in my life. And when there's a lot of other big, big stressors and some of it's life-altering things, and I become overly stressed because of it, I've noticed that my symptoms of PTSD escalate. And I had never felt hopeless. But there came a time like 5 years ago where I did. And I actually called my counselor and said, I've got weird thoughts that I've never had, and I think I'm scaring myself. Why are they coming now? And we worked on that for a long time. Because do I want to die? No. Do I have suicidal thoughts on a daily basis? No. But there was a short period of time where I was asking myself, what's the point in you even being here? And that scared me. I mean, I truly frightened myself. And I'm like, where is that coming from? Why is the devil perched on my shoulder, whispering in your ear, what's the point in you being here, Kim?
Yeah.
And that made me angry. So I'm like, I guess I'd rather have righteous anger at the devil perched on my shoulder than anger at myself. So, but if I would have had that way back, I don't know if I would have had the strength and it does take courage to reach out or to recognize what was going on, to pick up the phone and call my counselor and say, hey, I'm having weird thoughts and I don't know where they're coming from. Can you please help me through this? And there's a lot of people that don't do that don't reach out, and it brings tears to my eyes because it breaks my heart when I hear of someone that has taken their own life. And it's so hard when you're in that space to see light. It's so hard. I've been there. And it just breaks my heart. It's like I can physically feel it when I hear something like that, or a teenager that committed suicide, drug overdose, what have you. And you're just like, oh my goodness. They reached that point of such darkness and such hopelessness that they thought it was better off to not be here.
Yeah.
It just breaks my heart.
Yeah. No other
and it
way
happens
out.
too often. It happens too often worldwide. It happens too often.
Yeah.
And there's so many situations, and I can't sit there and poo-poo anybody's situation because some people are really, really, really in hard spots. And I can't put myself in their shoes, so I can't ever speak for them, but I can have empathy.
Yeah.
And I can, in my own little way, that's what I always, I say I can't change the world, but I can maybe change one person's world.
That's it. That's it.
And I can't change the world, but I can really try and work hard at changing my own small slice of the world.
Yeah.
I'm just some lady from Pennsylvania. So I can change, if, my books or something else that I've done or my podcast or whatever, someone hears me say something and that just sparks something in them. That was another little nugget that was tossed out. And a lot of times I don't even realize it. I won't know. And that's okay. You don't have to know. Just toss out kindness, people. It doesn't cost you a dime. The world needs more of it.
100%. One of the battles that we do face, okay, so the podcast is one component of it. The NGO that we have is called the Hold On campaign. But one thing that we battle with the most is getting people to actually ask for help. There's no shame in it.
Right.
Ask for help. If you're not comfortable in asking your family or your friends, reach out to us. Our details are there. Reach out to us. We can assist you. We will be here to listen to you. But people don't. So, based on what you have just told me, you'll be a perfect fit and definitely add value to that podcast. So, if you don't mind, I would love to send you an invite, to join us.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate. I'm honored that you thought of me.
Yeah. No, based on what you told me, it's going to really add value, honestly, because you had anger, whereas other people is like, what? Let me just end my life right now. I can't handle it. The trauma is too much for me. Now we're trying to stop that. We're getting to the foundation of before it gets to the suicidal thought, we want to stop it there. Like that's our mandate. Yeah. So having someone like you come on and share your experience and give your advice on the matter is going to help us with that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm open to that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll definitely send you the invite after the show today. So based on that, you mentioned kindness, and kindness is such a strong word. you know. And we live in this world today where people are failing to practice kindness. It's a selfish world. There is no effort. It's more like, I'm so conceited that it's all about me. I'm only going to focus on me. So is that what has led to nuggets of hope? How did that come about? Now let's touch into the book.
Yeah, a couple years ago, and I'm a Christian, so that plays a part in my journey of getting this book going. So a couple years ago, I started seeing and hearing and reading the word hope. It was just turning up everywhere. And I don't know if you've ever, all of a sudden you start seeing the same number everywhere, if that's ever happened to you. Yeah. So it was the word hope was everywhere. And I'm thinking, gosh, that's just turned literally daily for weeks. And then I'm thinking, okay, God, is that you? Or are you trying to give me a message? And when I asked that question, I had such a strong feeling in my heart that it was yes. And I went, what am I supposed to do with the word hope? I'm just a dorky girl from Pennsylvania. What am I supposed to do? And it didn't go away. And that little nudge that I kept feeling, you got to get out there and do something. You got to get out. And it was to get out there and do something. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And then I remembered a while back, I was at a networking event and people were handing out these little packets of, like little cards, little square cards, and they were affirmations like, you're awesome, you're a rock star, things like that, just on a little card. And I had 6 of them and I thought, I got to find those. So I grabbed those and put them in my purse. And the next time I went and did errands or got groceries, I just took those 6 cards and tucked them around the store. Just put them in with the milk, put them in with the motor oil, wherever I felt like put them in with some cookies. I just tucked them around and I thought, okay, I just dropped out 6 nuggets of hope. That's what I started calling them. Those little cards. I just dropped 6 nuggets of hope. Okay, I'm good. That nudge can go away. Because it was literally on my mind constantly. It wouldn't go away. But it didn't go away. It got even stronger. I'm going, oh my goodness. So I'm thinking, okay, what can I do? What can I do? And then I started just having really strong feelings that I was supposed to actually approach people and offer them hope. And my first instinct was, no way. I will look like a crazy woman, But I got online, and I found these polished stones with the word hope engraved on them. Okay. And I found them and I thought, well, my gosh, those are nuggets of hope. Look at that. So I purchased some, just a small, and I was like, those aren't cheap. What do you want me to do? I'm supposed to do all this. So I got a small chunk of them, and they arrived and I was like, wow, these actually are really pretty and they're real smooth. And my grandfather back in the day always carried a stone and he called it his worry stone. And he always would, keep it in his pocket and rub his thumb on it. And he called it a worry stone. And that's what it reminded me of. And I was like, okay, so I started carrying some of these with me in my coat pocket, in my purse. And the first time I was out and about and I had them with me, I was in a grocery store, and I noticed an older woman. And she was standing, just staring up at the wall of items that, the aisle that we were in. And it was like this immediate feeling. She needs a nugget of hope. It was so strong. And I'm thinking, I'm in a grocery store. Am I supposed to approach a total stranger and say, here, you want a stone that says hope on it? But I put my hand, I put it in my hand. It was in my pocket and I'm holding it and I'm like, okay, here we go. And as I was gently approaching this woman, her demeanor, I realized she wasn't seeing anything that she was looking at. And I recognized that she was a hurting person and she was just standing in the grocery store, maybe on the verge of losing it, and it was so strong. That feeling was so strong to me coming from her. And I just quietly walked up to her, came up on her side. So I didn't startle her. And I said, excuse me, ma'am. And I held up my hand. I said, I would like to give you a nugget of hope today. And she held out her hand, and I put it in, and I said, I wish you a blessed day. And I turned and walked away, because I don't think even to this day that I'm supposed to stop, and I'm not supposed to chit chat. I'm not supposed to find out their story or their name or anything. I'm just supposed to give them that. And as I was walking away, I heard her say, you have no idea. Thank you so much. You have no idea. And I turned, to look over my shoulder to look at her, and she was just standing there looking down at the nugget of hope in the palm of her hand. And I finished my stuff, went out to my car, and sat in my car and cried. And that was the start of that.
Wow.
So I did that for a couple years. I still do it. But after a couple years, and when I would come home, I would write those out, because I didn't want to forget. I wrote out those experiences, those interactions. And then I realized, maybe these need to be put out in the world a little bit more. How can I do that?
Yeah,
How can I
yeah,
share these experiences to show, not to pat myself on the back at all, ever, but to give examples to people out there who might be wondering, what can I do to make my own little place in the world a better place? Because the world is scary right now, and has been for a long time. And just to give examples, so I in the book, I just took those stories and incorporated those in the book, which is called Nuggets of Hope. And that's how how that whole journey started.
The thing about kindness, like me personally, myself, I love to practice kindness where possible, even if it's the smallest thing, just like what you did in the grocery store with a complete stranger, you know. And yeah, there'll be times that people think, what, you're crazy, or what's your intention, what you want from me. Clearly, you want something from me. That's why you've been kind to me. But it also takes a lot for people who want to practice kindness and make the world a better place. Or let's just start with our community, or we start with our home. That's a starting point.
Right.
As you said, we can change one person's life today. Boom, that's it. It's one down. It's enough. It really is enough. Don't go out and have this mandate to change 100 people's lives in one day. If you change one person's lives, or if you just, smile at one person today who needs someone to smile at them, or tell someone some cheesy joke that's going to make them laugh, even though it's a stupid joke, go out and do it. But what I'm getting to here is what I've experienced in my own personal life is I practice kindness, but then there'll be people who abuse their kindness as well. And it takes a lot to come back home after that experience to still sit and reflect, meditate, pray, to say, look, because of that incident, I am not going to change myself. I'm not going to become a mean person. Tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm still going to be kind. Whereas with some people, it'll be like, you know what? I'm giving up now. There's no point to this. Let me just focus on myself. How would you, tell people out there that have that sort of mindset to just say, you know what? Chill out. Let's say tomorrow.
It would be very easy, wouldn't it, to just say, no one even appreciates this. Why am I even trying?
Yeah.
It'd be very easy to do that. And there are days that I've had that feeling too. But then my pastor shared something with me that stuck with me for a long time. And that started creeping back into my brain again when I would, because I've had some pretty interesting interactions with people when I'm offering a nugget of hope. Not everybody was happy about it. And that's okay. They don't have to be happy. Yeah. But I've also realized my pastor, he said, when things like that happen, and you're being a kind person, and he's like, Kim, I know that you're very empathetic, so you feel it maybe a little bit harder than most folks might. And he said, when someone's like, it almost feels like they're trying to shove their own anger and bitterness on you, that's on them. It has nothing to do with you. They're dealing with issues that maybe they haven't dealt with. They're dealing with their own sadness and bitterness and maybe trauma, and they've not addressed it yet. Maybe they don't know how to deal with it. So they just view the world as, whoops, yucky everywhere. And you just have to remind yourself what they're saying and what they might be throwing at you. Don't let it land, because it's not about you. It's about them. So that was really powerful to me, because people can make you really angry. And I've got a temper. I'm not afraid to admit that. And so sometimes it takes work where I have to sit there and take a deep breath and say, everything they're saying literally has nothing to do with me, and it's not me that's making them angry.
Yeah.
They've got something else in their life that's making them angry. I just happen to be in front of them right now.
Yeah. So they're taking it out on you.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've all done that. And if anyone says they haven't, then I think they're fibbing. We've all done that. Yeah. I know I have. And if I do it, in this day and age, I will immediately feel contrite and say, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. Yeah. I don't know why I just threw that at you. Has nothing to do with you. I can recognize it. Now, is that something I do all the time? No. But if I do it, I at least can recognize it. So I also recognize it in other people. Yeah. And that's not easy to do, to sit there and just let it bounce and say, well, I know it's not about me. And then not put that but after it.
Yeah. And this is where that like self-awareness comes in, for individuals. Like you really need to self-reflect on what baggage you're actually carrying in your subconscious mind that you haven't fixed yet. Yeah. You need to fix that, because that's going to take you into the world as a much more pleasant, beautiful person. I recall an incident that just happened today. So I'm sitting down, I'm outside, I'm chilling, I'm enjoying nature, and here comes this guy out of the shop. So clearly something happened in the shop, okay, between him and whoever was serving him at the counter. So he gets into the car, his wife is in the car, and he just starts screaming, and it has nothing to do with the wife. Honestly, she's just chilling there. She's quiet. She's probably thinking in her mind like, yo, what just happened, And he's taking it out on her. Yeah, it's something that happened in the shop. So once again, the wife should take it as, look, it has nothing to do with me. This happened between him and whoever was in the shop. So just to the listeners, if you're ever in a situation where someone is taking out something on you, but you haven't done anything wrong, just relax. It has nothing to do with me. Let it just be. Let me not blame myself or, criticize myself and think that something's wrong with me. That's why they're doing this to me.
Right. That's the key. Don't blame yourself and don't criticize yourself.
Yeah.
Because they've had a bad day or a bad experience somewhere else that has nothing to do with you. Now, I know there are certain circumstances where that happens a lot for people, like in abusive relationships or things like that. And I know that's very, very hard. And so, I don't take that lightly either. But there are in everyday circumstances, things like that, like you just said, everybody is going through something. Every person you come across or meet has either went through something pretty tough or may be going through it right at that point. And it might just fall out on you, spill out on you, Everybody is going through something.
Yeah. So how would you, like a short list, tell people to, on a daily basis, like practice kindness? Like, what's something that people can do daily?
You know what I've found? I want to be kind more when I realize how much I'm grateful for. And that took me a while to learn. So I try to each morning when I wake up, 3 things I'm grateful for. And it should take no one any amount of time to think of it, because one, you should be grateful that you woke up.
Yeah.
You can breathe. A lot of people struggle to breathe every day. You can breathe. And, for me, I'm always like, I am so grateful for that first cup of coffee.
Yeah.
You can be grateful for anything, but just be grateful, and, or I'm grateful that I live in the country and I can take my dog for a walk every day out in the woods in the fields and
Yeah,
just enjoy
yeah,
nature. I
yeah,
am so grateful for that because that's where I breathe. That's where I feel most at peace. That's where I pray. Being outside is my happy space, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
So be grateful. And when you feel that, and it's a journey, I mean, it's not any, there's no magic thing that we can tell you that's like, you're going to feel great.
yeah,
It's a journey. And you do have to, a lot of self-reflection and figure it out, what makes you happy? What makes you grateful? Write it down, journal, whatever it is that, there's all kinds of apps and stuff that you can do and use. But for me, it was find what I'm grateful for. And I realized that once I know how grateful I am, it was so much easier for me to notice folks that were hurting and then to just toss that little nugget of hope out and be kind to others. And when you're kind with others, this is a scientific proven fact. When you share kindness, you're not only helping those people, giving them a boost, but
yeah,
it's doing the same to you as well. And I'm always saying, we're our own little slice of the world, one person at a time, tossing out those little nuggets, little mustard seeds, just cause a ripple, a positive ripple in that pond. And it's gonna keep rippling out and it's gonna land where it needs to land. But just think of, that whole pay it forward thing. So I shared something with you this morning, maybe, and it made you smile, and you're like, oh, and you run into someone else, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna share that story that Kim just shared. And
yeah,
there it is, the ripple going, and oh my goodness. I like to mentally picture how far that can spread. Instead of,
yeah,
look latching on to the first negative thing you see on social media in the morning. As soon as you wake up, you grab your phone and you're like, oh, this person. And it's like,
yeah,
stop doing
yeah,
that. Stop doing that.
yeah,
Don't start your day. Don't start your day scrolling on social media.
yeah,
Start your day
yeah,
being grateful because by golly, you woke up, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Not pick up your phone first. So
Right.
it's like, yeah, exactly. You shouldn't be picking up your phone first thing in the morning. You
And
know,
people do. That's automatic now.
exactly. A bad habit that we need to get rid of. So what I'm going to say next is going to lead now into another component of your life. It's like, let's just say I'm always angry each and every single day, and that's what's preventing me from actually being kind. Nobody wants to be angry each and every single day if you really think about it. So I'm going to use having a job that you don't like. Now you have a choice. You have a choice to stay in the job or get out of the job into something that's going to make you into a much kinder person. So let's touch on fear. Now, you have a podcast that's related to that specific word, fear. Why are we scared? Why are we driven by fear?
Most are afraid of the unknown. Most are afraid of things in their life that they cannot control. And then that fear can turn into all kinds of other things. And it can spill out onto all of those around you. That's how I see it. Um, you mentioned working in a job. I was sitting there kind of grinning because prior to me doing this, I worked in a job. It was a very toxic atmosphere. And I kept telling myself, one more year, and then you got to get out of here. And I didn't leave when I knew I should have, looking back, because of fear. It's like,
Yeah.
well, I'm a single income house. It's me and the dog. If I don't have a job, I don't have an income. I don't have insurance. How am I going to pay this? How am I going to do all that? I can't just walk out of a job because I'm not happy here,
Yeah.
And that's the mindset of Americans, actually. That's how we're raised. You get a job, you keep it. You know what I mean?
It's like a worldwide thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
you know?
And then I started becoming very ill. Very ill. My PTSD was through the roof, and I was losing all kinds of weight. My hair was falling out. So, folks, if you think stress doesn't affect you physically, you'd be wrong. I became very ill. And then I kept, the doctors were like, we don't know what's wrong with you. We don't know. And I'm like, well, my stress, and I'm having panic attacks, and I can't sleep, and I can't eat. And, it was just crazy. And it was very noticeable that I was ill. It was very physically noticeable that I did not feel well because I had become really, really thin. And I was never an overweight or heavy person to begin with. And then finally, I was diagnosed with a rare form of diabetes. And I said, well, where the heck did that come from? And it was scary to find that out. And I'm like, well, how do I feel better? How do I get better? Because look at me, and it was a long, long journey. It took like a year to get like the right things going for me. So I was healthy again. But all of that, being in a toxic environment, I look back now and I'm like, oh, Kim, you should have left way sooner. Way sooner. I sincerely believe that all this stress had a huge part in how this diabetes became. And because it's a rare form, it's very uncommon. Half the doctors I talk to have never even heard of it. And I'm like, then look it up, but you're in that, and it's not easy. It's not easy to just say, to give up your comfort zone, but sometimes, goodness, you have to. And sometimes you have to face your fears, because fear was what was holding me back. And it got to a point where I had to take a leave of absence. And when I did that, I was thinking, I'm probably going to be let go from this job. And I was. And that was fine. And I was okay with it.
Yeah.
And it also just happened to coincide with wham, COVID. It all played out at the same time, which was interesting. And I woke up that next day that I had found out, they're like, due to we're going to let you go. And I completely understood. I did. And I just sat there. I was like, all right, Kim, give yourself 24 hours to be angry. Just angry at the world. You haven't felt good. You hated your job. Ugh, 24 hours just to be angry. And I did that for 24 hours, and I did it really, really well. And then after that, I was like, now what are you going to do? Pull up those big girl pants, Kim. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So you lost your job. You're sick. You don't feel well. You look horrible. This isn't going to last forever. What are you going to do? We've been through worse. That's how I talk to them. I always say, me, myself, and I, the three of us, we've been through worse. We're going to get through this. So I was like, I got to let this bounce. I'm not going to be fearful. I'm going to let this bounce, letting this fear bounce. And as I was sitting there that next morning, saying, all right, done being angry. What are we going to do? I'm letting it bounce. That's how my podcast, that's how the name of it was born. Let Fear Bounce.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'm going to make something happen. I'm going to do my own thing. And my whole family was like, what do you mean? You have to have a job. Well-meaning. They were well-meaning, and they were doing it in love. And I completely understand, but I still said, got to do my own thing. I'm in my 50s now, man. I know what I want. I know what I'm good at. And so I asked myself, what are you good at? What do you like to do? And what are you passionate about? And let's make something happen, Kim. Yeah. And that's what I did. Was it easy? No. Right? The first 2 years were really hard. I'm like, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to pay my mortgage? It was very scary and very hard, but I wasn't letting fear land. I just kept saying, let it bounce, Kim. Let it bounce. We can do this. So if you've got enough, sometimes it takes that. Sometimes you have to kick your own self in the butt.
We have to take the jump and the leap of faith. Like, you have to jump off that cliff. Like, all that you said now, like, I can relate to it all. Especially that family part. Are you crazy? How can you leave your job? What are you going to do? You can't do that. That's irresponsible,
Right.
That's exactly what family and friends tell you. But I mean, like, to the listeners out there who are still scared to take the jump because you are so scared of what everyone else is going to say, you need to do what is best for you. You need to follow your heart. I have been in jobs as well myself in my early 20s. So, I mean, I should do my music 50%, and then I was stuck in this job 50% because I had to pay bills. Okay. The music industry doesn't pay off that well, especially if you're in the independent space. There's a lot more that goes into it. You have to be in it full time to actually see some sort of income coming in. But I mean, you have to follow your gut instinct, because in there someone is saying, leave, leave, leave. And you're like, no, fear, fear, fear. As you said, how I'm going to pay for this, how I'm going to pay for that. But you got to leave, leave, leave. And I mean, just like with your COVID incident, the similar thing happened to me. I mean, from the third company I was at the time, and that was 2019. I went to Thailand. I came back. I found myself in Thailand. I'm like, okay, this is it. I'm getting back to South Africa. I'm leaving. I'm going to focus full time on my music. I'm going to do me. I'm going to do the stuff that I love doing now. Because I am definitely not happy, and I'm not going to be driven by fear anymore. I'm going to take each day at a time, and I'm going to see what happens. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, well, whatever I learned from it now, then I can just keep going. But I am
Right.
not going backwards. I'm not going backwards no matter what. I'd rather die. Take me now, God, please. Seriously. And then COVID happened, and then of course, I was supposed to go back to Thailand in 2020. That never happened. I got stuck in South Africa. But once again, I said to myself, I'm not going backwards. What can I do? What can I do with what I have? And I just kept building and building and building. And one thing I learned throughout that process, and you can probably also relate to it as well, like when your heart is in the right place and you're waking up each and every single day, not feeling sorry for yourself, not being driven by fear, not being scared, not worried about what people are going to say, just focus, do what you can, bit by bit, bit by bit, bit by bit. Things they work out gradually, bit by bit. They do work out. All the stuff that you were scared of, okay, what I'm going to eat. Let me humble myself. Let me start practicing humility. If I was eating 5-star, before, now no longer. I'm going to eat 1-star now. At least I'm going to be happy about my life waking up each day. But if you don't take that leap of faith, you're never going to know. You're never going to
That's
know.
right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure yours did too. My life changed. I had to change a lot of things to make it through.
Yeah. Yeah.
But looking back now, it's like kind of laugh. I'm like, you know what? I grew up poor, and so now I'm poor again, and that's okay.
There's nothing wrong with it because you're happy.
No,
Like,
that's what I said. That's okay. I
yeah,
at least I knew the space that I was in, and I knew what I needed to do to maintain and to be frugal. And it's like, do I really need that? No, actually, I don't. And then once that starts kicking in, your outlook, at least for me, changed, because I was like, why was I so focused on thinking I needed that? I didn't need any of that. And do I
yeah,
need all those subscriptions for television? I don't even watch television. Why am I paying all that?
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, really, I don't even watch TV. So I cut everything about TV. I mean, so there's so many things that you can do. And yeah, and I know there are people out there in really tough spots. So please don't think I'm making light of any of it, because I've been there. And
Yeah.
am I rolling in money now? Absolutely not. I'm still probably considered poor to many, many people. But for me, dollar signs no longer hold power. I don't look at it as I have to make this much money per year to feel good about myself,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you can't take any of that with you when you go,
Yeah.
and the way I look at it is I'm doing what I love. And I mean, yeah, I have to make money. So I do have clients that I do things for. I do freelance writing for clients. I do social media for clients. So yeah, I had to create my own job so I could still continue to do what I love, which is writing. And I found that I love doing podcasting. I love talking to people. So I still do that, but I still have to have clients, but I get to choose.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm the boss.
That's just side hustles.
Yeah, I have side hustles. I got my side gigs. Yeah, I've got to pay the bills,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just like you said, being a musician, being an author, unless you're famous, does not pay the bills, folks. Just
Yeah.
so you know.
Yeah. You have to diversify the income. Write the
Yes,
book,
and
publish the book.
have several if you need to. You know what I did,
Exactly.
and I shared this with someone a couple of months ago. Then it was humbling. But there was a point there where I was like, okay, I I really don't know if I'm going to be able to pay my mortgage. I need to do something for a couple months regularly, but I didn't want a full-time job and I didn't want to start sending out my resume again. And honestly, I didn't want to have a boss that was half my age.
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
being blatantly honest because I could run circles around them, you know, but they would still be telling me that I was doing things wrong, even though I have, 30 years experience on them. So I didn't want that. I just didn't want that. And so I don't know if you have it where you're at, but we have like DoorDash and Instacart, like people order groceries and you go get them and deliver them to their house. Do you have that where you're at?
No, 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 no.
Oh, okay. Well, here in America, we do. So it's like an app. You get on this app, and different grocery stores will say, we have this order that came in. And if you click on the button quick enough, you go to the store, do the grocery shopping, and deliver it to whomever ordered it through the app. And that's like a side hustle, side gig. So I did that. I was like, you know what, Kim, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Humble yourself. Quit thinking you're too good for stuff and
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
deliver groceries for a while. So I did that for 2 months because that was the length of time that I needed to earn a certain amount of money to get back to where I needed to be. And did I want to do it? No. Did I used to look at those jobs as a little bit less than? Yes, I did. And I'm very honest about that. And then I thought, who do you think you are, Kim? You're no better than anybody else. So you
Yeah.
get your butt in your car and you go do those groceries and you go deliver them to people who need them. And you know what I found when I was delivering those groceries? It was to single moms with little ones at home. It was to senior citizens that no longer drove or could not leave their house. Those are the people that I ended up delivering groceries to. And that was humbling because I'm thinking, wow, Kim, these people really, really need this. And you're helping them out. And
100%.
there was many times where, because you weren't allowed, as as the job, you were not allowed to go into their home. You're allowed to leave the stuff on the porch or right inside the door if they open up the door, but you were not allowed to enter their home. But I understand that, security and safety and all that. So I will never forget, there was this one woman, she's in her late 80s, and she opened up the door and she goes, "Oh my goodness, there you are. You've got all my stuff. Thank you so much." And she's just going on and on. And I said, and she was very frail. And I'm thinking, all these grocery bags, and she's going to have to carry them in the house. I don't know how she's going to do that. So I'm just sitting, I go, where would you like me to put your groceries? Or is there an easier way for you to get these in the house than having to come out so many times? And she said, "Oh, sweetie, if you can just bring them in and put them on my counter." And I'm like, I'm really not allowed to. And she's like, "I won't tell anyone if you don't." And I went, okay. So I carried them all in for her, put them all on the counter so she wouldn't have to bend over and lift anything or anything like that. And as I'm doing that, she just kept thanking me over and over again. And I thought, she's being a nugget of hope to me right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and she couldn't, and she wanted to give me a tip. And she's like, "Oh, please take this, sweetie. You have no idea how much this means to me. I don't drive anymore. And my son's so busy. He works full time and has his kids. And so they don't get over here as often as I'd like, just, and you realize how lonely people are. I found that
Yeah.
out too, doing that job. That job humbled me a lot in many ways. How lonely people are. Um, and that people are in circumstances, physical reasons that they can't leave the house. and they might literally not have anyone to help them.
It's true. It's very
And
true.
yeah, it was just, that was those 2 months, I'll never forget it. And, and I've run into people, they're like, they're in a hard spot. I'm like, you know what? Do Instacart, go deliver groceries for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not
I mean,
hard.
you
You're not making a lot of money, but you're going to make enough to get by. And if that's what you need, then that's
yeah,
what you need, And so I made enough to get by and get where I needed to get. And then I didn't need to do it anymore. But that was another example of, there are times in life you got to humble yourself. You got to take your
100%.
pride, set your pride to the side, because you're no better than anybody else.
Yeah. And stop worrying about what other people are going to say and how they are going to judge you. Your goal in life is to live a fulfilling life and do the things that you love. And if it means having such side hustles, then you go out and you do it. Who cares what other people think?
Right.
Let them do their life. Let you do your life. And the thing is, we've been brainwashed by society and what the definition of success is. Success is not getting this fancy job that pays high, that makes you miserable all the time, where you can't practice any kindness. You get home, you don't have time for family. What is it? What is there any? There's no happiness in that.
Right.
But if you have a few side hustles that people are going to judge you on, but you can still, focus on your artistic career and write a book because you love writing, or focus on building your independent musical career, that's enough for you. That's enough for you. You're doing something that millions of people aren't doing for their own life. And you don't want to be on your deathbed one day, oh no, what was my life really
Right.
about?
And
What
you
was
know
it
what I
really about?
found? I found because there, I would run into people that knew me, that would see me doing that, and they're like, "You're doing that? You're doing Instacart?" I'd be like, "Yeah, thank you. Have a great day." And
Yeah,
I realized that those people that were judgmental were jealous,
that's
because they might not have liked or looked down upon me doing this, the ones that I ran into, because I know they were. But I also think I also knew them enough that I knew that they were miserable in their jobs,
yeah,
or maybe they were miserable in their life, period. And I think maybe they were a little jealous. So yeah, I'm doing this side gig to make ends meet for a little bit. But then I'm also having time to walk my dog in the middle of the day if I wanted to.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
also I could sit there and follow a passion that I never thought I'd be able to do unless I was doing it late at night when I was so tired from working all day anyway. And it never worked out and never felt good. But now I can sit and, write a book because that's what I wanted to do, or start a podcast because that's
yeah,
what I want to do. That's what I feel good doing. And I think some people, they probably would never admit to it, but I truly believe that some of them were jealous.
yeah. And they don't have what it takes to do what you are actually doing right now, because they've been so caught up in this materialistic world that they just don't have it in them to let go of it. I mean, I even sold my car just so I could save money each month on an installment and insurance, so I could invest it into my life, into my career. And am I happy about it? Of course I am. Of course. I don't need the car. If I want to get anywhere, which I don't most of the time, cool. Use an Uber. Uber works for me. It's enough. You know, it's
Yeah.
enough for me.
No,
But people don't want to
I
let
get
go of
it.
it. They want to drive these fancy cars to impress people that bring no value to their life.
Right.
Why? Why?
Yeah.
That's what.
I'm often, because it's so interesting when something like when you have a life altering shift like that, a mind shift. Do you find that you view the world differently, or you look at people and you're like, I don't think they're happy at all?
Yeah.
Well,
You know.
wow, you have a really nice big house and fancy car, but your wife hates you and your kids don't know you because you're never home,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's like, wow. I would rather live, and I tell my family this now. I'm like, I want to live in a tiny house. Have you watched any of those videos about tiny houses?
No,
like
no,
tiny
no,
house
no.
communities. They're really teeny little houses, and
Yeah,
little
yeah,
tiny house communities are popping up. I'm like, I want to start a tiny house community.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
be at one with nature, and just because literally your house is just a place that you sleep in and spend some time in. But depending upon where you live in the world, but when the weather is nice where I'm at, when it's even when it's not, I'm outside with the dog. you know
yeah,
you got to find, and I don't know if people do this, I don't think they do. What people need to ask themselves this, what really makes me happy? And it doesn't matter. Maybe you just like watching goldfish in a tank swimming around, if that's what makes you happy. But sit there, what makes you happy? And then
yeah,
find a way to do it. Maybe if you can't do it full time or full bore, say you love to read, but you just don't have the time to read anymore. There's always time to make time for what you love to do.
yeah. It's up to you. It's
That's
up to
right.
you
It's
at that
up to
time.
you. And I love how you said earlier, who cares what other people think?
Yeah,
Who cares?
yeah,
But don't let them dictate your life, because they're not living your life.
yeah,
They're living
yeah.
their own life. And they're more than likely
Exactly.
unhappy.
That's why they're talking about your life
Right.
because they are
Right.
unhappy.
So
They're making you important,
right.
you know?
And
Yeah,
I try, and that is hard to, and I'm sure that too. It's hard to sometimes let what people say about you, it's hard to let that bounce sometimes. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
yeah. Well, you know
Because
what?
you get
I,
to a point in
I'm
life, you're like, I just don't care.
exactly, exactly. It's like when people come to me and they're like, the guy said something or he said this about you. I'm like, I don't care. What
Yeah,
that doesn't bother me. I'm focused on my life, doing what I do,
right.
and that's all. That is
Yeah.
it, and that's where it ends. This was really, really valuable information, or just a conversation overall. I mean, this is really going to impact people. Just to listen to this part of the show is going to give people perspective and be like, yo, okay, okay. But I guarantee you, there'll still be 80% of the listeners who will be like, oh, that does make sense. Tomorrow, they just back to
Right.
how their life is. Ah,
You know what
whatever.
I found that
Completely
works?
forgotten. Yeah.
Tell them to save the video then, so they can go back and listen to it over and over again on their lunch
Yeah,
hour.
that's what it takes. That's what it takes. You need to
Yeah.
start. It takes time, to change habits,
Yeah.
but you just have to be consistent with that. So,
Right.
with regards to, I don't want to take up too much of your time. With regards to your first books, on animals. What would the world be without animals? Like, I take animals, like, I love animals, especially dogs. I love puppies. Like, it's very spiritual for me to be in their presence. So what made you want to, like, write a book about that? And in your opinion, what would the world be? One of your questions, what would the world be without animals?
Oh, it'd be horribly
Go.
lonely. I can't imagine it. I
Yeah,
have always loved animals and nature, always. And I can remember back even being 5, 6 years old, wanting to just be outside all the time. I was one of those little kids that like saved bugs from a spider web, or I'd find a toad and bring it home. you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
I
yeah,
was one of those kids, always out there getting dirty and in the creek and whatever. And for dogs are my favorite. I feel like it's my spirit animal. you know, um, I
Dexter.
feel, I
That's
feel,
a dog's name, right? Dexter.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah,
he's my
yeah.
boy. He's my boy. And the one before him, his name was Digger. And all my dogs have been rescue dogs, so I've gotten them from shelters. And
Yeah.
um,
Nice.
that I'm saving their life, and in many many ways they're saving mine. I have a connection with animals, and with
Yeah.
especially with my dogs, and it's sometimes you're thinking they know exactly what I'm saying or exactly what I'm thinking. And vice versa sometimes, their companionship and their love is so pure and without judgment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they love you wholly.
Unconditionally.
Yes. With their whole being, from the tip of their tail to their little noses. They love you.
Yeah.
They'll wiggle the whole thing to let you know, you know? And isn't that the best thing? Isn't that like the best thing to feel as a human? That, because to me, it's like, this dog is so over the moon happy to see me, and I've only been gone 15 minutes,
Yeah.
but he's over the moon happy to see me. You can't help but not smile.
Yeah.
You can't, and all those good endorphins get going,
Yeah.
it's just, and my dogs in my life have played a very big part in my life, especially with my PTSD. Now, they're not trained to be service dogs or anything, but they've become super in tune with me, probably because it's just me and them. But they come very in tune with me. And a lot of times, and Dexter started doing it now too, but my other dog did it all the time, would alert me when I had a panic attack rising. And sometimes it would be before I even realized it was happening. So they come up and they nudge me, just keep nudging me. And you're like, oh, stop it. Leave me alone. Then you realize, oh, my chest is tight. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
So they refocus, because that's what you need to do when that's happening. You got to refocus. And they would keep nudging. And Dexter, like I said, just started doing that. And I don't have panic attacks as often as I used to, thank goodness. But if something's like that and I'm feeling a little edgy, that's how I call it, he will start nudging me. And then I realize now, oh, he's trying to get my attention, and it refocuses. And it's just
Yeah.
pure. It's just their feelings for you are just pure. And I don't, between babies, like toddlers and babies, and animals, it's all pure. And to me, that's the best place to find that pureness of love and non-judgment. And it's just there, and
Yeah.
that in between is hard to find there. We reach a certain age in life where you lose that innate kindness and looking at the world in awe. We lose that. And,
Yeah.
animals for me keep me grounded and remind me that, yeah, days are going to be hard sometimes. They're going to suck, Sometimes that's the only word you can use. Yeah, that day sucked. But then you sit there and you go for a walk with your dog, or you start petting your dog, and you're like, yeah, the day didn't suck so bad.
So, like, what's the punchline, like the main message with your book on the topic?
The main message. There is so many hurting little souls out there that need a human. And that's why my dogs have all been rescues. That connection, that human animal connection, is factual and scientifically proven that it helps you physically and mentally. And I think I trust people who love animals more than I trust people who don't. And I trust who my dog, how he reacts with people. So I know, okay, well, he's shown his teeth to this one. Nope.
Yeah.
So I trust
100%.
animals. I trust, and I don't know how this is going to come across, but most days I trust my dog more than I trust most humans.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But there's that connection. It's a healthy thing. It's a health thing too. It's a mental health and physical health thing. Because look you've got service dogs, you've got companion dogs, you've got animals and dogs that, help the military and police and EMTs and rescue dogs. I mean, look at what animals, how they help our lives in many, many ways. What would, like you asked, what would your life look like without it?
100%.
I can't imagine.
And also, like in my experience, dogs are so spiritual. Like as you said, if they take out their teeth for someone, I feel it's because they already know that person has bad energies.
Yeah.
But if a
Oh, I
dog,
agree.
complete, you know, random dog that you see on the road, if you walking past that dog and then he's like, he's picking up good energy. It's good
Yeah.
energy.
Yep.
He knows, okay, you're a good person, you got a good heart, you know, I can relate with you. But if it's like, "Grr," then that person, watch out for that person. It's
Yeah.
bad energies.
Yeah. Yes. I completely agree with you on that. Because that's what I said earlier. I'm very empathetic and I can feel it feels like I know I can. People can think I'm crazy or woo woo if they want, but I feel stuff coming off of people. And
Yeah.
sometimes, you'll just be like, because I'll be in a store or something and you walk by and you're like, oh, and it's like, it almost takes my breath away. And I'll turn and look, I'm like, oh, oh. Because even my daughter has said, what are you doing, Mom? I'm like, oh, I don't know what just passed us, but it wasn't good. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
you feel that. And then, then I'm
Yeah.
like, am I crazy? But no, I don't think I am. And dogs, I think, well, animals, period, I think do the same. They can pick up on so much more than, and I
Yeah.
think like when I had to say goodbye to my digger, I had him for 14 years and he was just like my rock. I mean, he was just, oh, it crushed me when I had to say goodbye to him. It was absolutely crushing. And people don't believe me, and that's fine. But for 3 months after he was gone, I still heard him in the house. I have hardwood floors. So I still heard his nails clicking. And I'd be like, Dig? And I would hear, and I'm going, I'm not losing my mind. I'm actually hearing that. And we had a routine in the evenings. Towards the end of the evening, I'd get my pajamas on or whatever, and I'd come down to the couch and snuggle in the corner of the couch, get ready to watch some TV before I go to bed. And he had his spot with his bed on the floor in front of the couch, but up against the wall. And he would always come over, and especially as he got older, he'd come over and flump himself down in his bed and go, this big sigh. And I'd always be like, oh, it's been a long day, huh, buddy? And it was just part of our routine. And we did that every single night. And for 3 months after he was gone, I would hear the click, click, click. And then I would hear, and I literally heard it. And I don't care what anyone else says. I
Yeah.
know I
Yeah.
heard it. And I cried every night, every night. Oh, I cried so hard. And then I realized I need to let him go because he needs to move on to where he's supposed to go.
Yeah.
And he was always so protective of me his whole life. And I shared this with my pastor too. And I said, I think he was still doing that because he knew how much I hurt. Because whenever I hurt before, he was always right on me. Always. And then one night I was like, you know what, buddy? I'm just talking to my living room. I'm going, it's okay if you go. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. And I just kept saying it out loud over and over again. I'm going to
Yeah.
be okay, buddy. You can go. And I never heard it again after that. And almost makes me cry. And then it was 3 months later, I got Dexter. I was able to let my heart open enough to say, there's another soul out there that needs you, Kim. And
100%.
so I went to my local shelter and there he was, and I'm like, yeah, okay, it's time to do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I do believe you because I believe that we don't just vanish, animals as well.
Yeah.
There is another dimension, and those spirits are in that dimension, and they're always with us. They are always with us.
Yeah.
There's been incidents,
Look
you
at me
know.
crying. Thanks a lot, Keno, for getting me crying.
I am so sorry. I am so sorry. But at least, even though you're crying, it's you're also celebrating his memory and he's still there with you. That, I
Yeah.
mean, sorry, previous dog is still there with you. Um, as I was saying, I've had my own experiences as well when it comes to this, not necessarily with a dog, but the presence is still there of whoever was really, close to us in our lives,
Yeah.
whether it be human or whether it be animal. It's there. So I do believe you. I know people will say, nah, you crazy, that can't be true, that doesn't exist, whatever, but it's true. It
Yeah.
really
No,
is true.
I agree. And I've had people say, Kim, that's of the devil and stuff. I'm going, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever.
No, no, so the Paw
Oh my
Prints, those Paw
word.
Prints books, they're just their stories, and each person is sharing their own personal story of their pet. And it's just a celebration. It's a celebration
Yeah,
of the love between human and animal, and how much they impact our lives on a daily basis with just so much love.
yeah,
And that's what it is. It's just to share those stories. The books just share those stories. They're feel good stories. Now, some of them are going to bring you to tears because some of the stories are sharing about that final goodbye. But then you've got stories that people shared of they're animals that just have personalities way bigger than they ever anticipated, And so they
yeah,
share
yeah,
stories of, the different quirks and things. And it's just kind of it's a celebration of that bond between humans and animals and just what an impact it can have on our lives. So they're kind of like Chicken Soup for the Soul books. If you've read any of those back in the day, Chicken Soup for the
oh, no.
Soul. There's a whole series of them for years and years. Jack Canfield, I believe, is the one who writes them. But they're kind of like that. They're anthologies. But the feedback I've gotten from them is just it's all been positive, and people are always like, "Oh my gosh, this reminded me of my dog when I was 10." So it's all been very positive feedback because everybody that's had a pet absolutely adores and loves their pet, and so they can resonate with the stories.
Mm,
And if it brings a smile to your face and maybe even a tear, but it's not a sad tear, that's
yeah,
to me, that's another little nugget tossing out there.
yeah. They just bring good energy to your life, to your home, your surroundings. You
Yeah,
know,
they do.
they do. They do.
Yeah.
That's why it's so spiritual. Oh, but thanks for sharing that. Once again, apologies for making you cry. Not intentional.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't sad cry. It was just,
Yeah, it wasn't a sad
thankful.
cry. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's
Sad
another
cries
thing
is
that we
happy
need to be
cries.
thankful. We need to be thankful for all that's come into our life that's positive, even when it leaves.
Yeah. And you're always protected, when they're not around. You're always protected. So you have your first fiction book. It's work in progress. When can people expect it out?
Oh, what a question. I just finished it. The beginning of January. Just finished it. So it needs a lot of work. So it's first draft. I'm hoping I would love to be able to have it out and published early next year because I think
Okay.
it's going to take me a while. And I don't want to stress myself and I don't want to put a deadline on myself because I want to enjoy the experience. Um, I've not written fiction before and the characters are still kind of like talking to me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know and there's a little bit of magic in there because there's some wood sprites that are involved in it. So there's a little magic out in the forest. And I walk every day out in the trees in the fields with my dog, and so when I'm out there I'm like, and you get a little get a little whisper thinking, oh, maybe that wood sprite could be doing that. So there's a lot of stuff, a lot of work I need to do on the book yet, but I want to enjoy the ride because writing it was so fun. It was
Yeah,
so fun how the characters came out, and then you're just like, holy cow. Because I have a lot of authors, a lot of your guests actually have been guests on my podcast, Let Fear Bounce.
yeah,
And
yeah,
when you talk to them, then they're fiction writers. And so when you talk to them and they say, well, my characters don't leave me alone. Because I would ask them, hey, I've never written fiction. How do you come up with your characters? And they're like, well, they just appear and they start telling me what they want to do.
Yeah.
Or they don't let me sleep. And I was always like, oh, that's so fascinating. Weird, but and now I know what they're talking about. So that's been fun to find out for myself, because I had an idea. I had this book in my head for about 6 years. And because Digger, my dog I was talking about earlier, plays a big part in this book.
Yeah.
And that's where the magic comes from. Is that, that spiritual connection I firmly believe that my dog had with the rest of nature. And he brought me, he let me be a part of it for a while he was here on this earth. That's
and also
how
part of the character development is also going to resemble a lot of who you are as Kim.
Yeah.
That also branches out into, the main character or one of, the key characters there.
What's interesting? I have found that a couple new characters came in, and I was thinking, as I was, creating them and their dialogue and how they're all interacting with each other. And I was like, not one of these characters is fully me, but this part of me is definitely this in this character. And ooh, she's got this little quirk of mine, this other character. So it's interesting to see how it's playing out. Even though it's coming from me, it's still a surprise sometimes. I don't even know how to explain it. I'd have to talk to another fiction writer and ask them, how do you explain that? Because Anne Charles, I think she was a guest on your show. Anne Charles.
Yep. I had
I
on the
love
show,
talking to her.
it was last week. No, the
Oh,
week
okay.
before. The week before. I had Ann Charles.
She is able to explain how her characters, because she's written so many books with so many characters, and she's been able to explain it, like, to me, the best way to understand it, of how her characters come and they tell her what they want to do. And sometimes they're here and then they're like, well, I don't want to be a part of this world anymore. She goes, and so then they just go away. And then, she's really good at explaining how characters come to be. I love talking to her. She's fun to talk to.
Yeah, no, she was definitely fun, exciting, intriguing, Yeah, but I mean, she is also like, I mean, with her content, it's also just, a huge wow, like how it all just, developed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
she's fascinating to talk to. That's why I love talking to her.
Yeah. But, one thing you're doing, which I also love to do the most, and, to all the creators out there, is we no longer living in this era of competition. We are living in this era of collaboration. There is no harm in asking the next person, please, can you guide me on how to do ABC? And if someone has to ask you, please, can you help me? Please do, don't be that type of, no, if I help you, that means I'm going to put my own career at jeopardy because, I need to climb the ladder. You are not going to win in the long run on where the industry is going. We are in the era of collaboration.
Right.
There is no shame. There is no shame in saying, guys, please. I mean, it was just last week also, I sent out this bulk communication individually to each guest. You will also get one from me. Just saying, look, guys, please, can you give feedback from a creator's point of view? What was your experience on the podcast? Just give your honest advice. And I mentioned it is because that comment benefits my own growth because we're always learning.
Yeah.
We're always learning. So there's no harm in asking people that you've interacted with, can you guide me with this? How did you go about this? This is where I'm stuck. There is no harm. There's no. And as creators, we need to be able to share as well with the world as well.
Right. And, and I enjoy getting feedback from people, or if I have something that I've written and say, hey, can you read this and give me your honest feedback? And please don't sugarcoat it. If you don't get it, I want to know why you don't understand it. If you're like, this character is so not likable, tell me why. And I want that. I want the honest feedback. Like, I've done that for my writing. I've sent it off to people to critique. And then, you get it back and it's like, we really, really like this, but why is this way? Or what's the backstory to this person? Because I don't understand where they came from. And so it's like, your English teacher marking off your paper with a big red pen. And I'm like, mark it up, because how else am I going to learn?
Yeah.
And it's the same with, because I've done the same thing with my podcast. I'll ask people, what did you think of it? How am I coming across? Did my guests seem like they were comfortable? Stuff like that. And I always ask for honesty, always.
It's positive criticism. It is what it
Because, yeah,
is.
like you said, how else are we going to learn, and grow? I want to be able to grow and learn something new every day.
Yeah.
And how you're not going to do that all on your own. We do need people. We cannot exist solely in our own bubbles, even though we want to sometimes. We do need people. We do need community, whether that's online or in person or a mixture of both.
Yeah.
And there's no reason why we can't help each other, like you said, because I'm all for that. I'm all for collaboration. I am all for, hey, and I do this all the time. People will be like, well, I've been trying to do this. And I'm like, you know what? Hey, wait a minute. I met a person on my podcast that does that. Let me do an email introduction, and then you guys can take it from there and pull me out of it.
Yeah.
I've done that many, many times because I'm sure you meet a very diverse group of people.
Yeah.
And everybody does something different, or it might be all authors, but they're all doing something a little different, and if I can help someone on their journey, why wouldn't I want to?
Yeah. And there's
I'm
also
not giving away the house, but if I know someone and I can direct them somewhere, because I'll flat out say, if I can't help you, I can't help you. Like, you know what? I don't really know enough about that to even help, but I do know someone who does,
Yeah.
So even if it's just that, I think we all need to do that more, I think.
Yeah. And sometimes we forget to actually ask for help. I mean, I had two female musicians that was on the show last year. So of course now I waited for 2025 to say, okay, let me send out this communication to each and every single individual to say, guys, please can you review? So they did a review, and then they asked, Kino, do you mind also giving us a review? Because we all get so caught up with what we're doing that we all forget to ask for help, that can grow our platforms. So can you also give us a review so we can also put it on our website? So I responded with, a review for them as well.
Yep.
So by me doing that, it also now started to click with other people out there. Yo, we need to do the same thing. There's no shame in it. No matter how much we have accomplished, how far up we are, how many books we've published, how many awards we have won, let's look at our network of people that we have interacted with and say, guys, hey, do you mind just giving me a review here or commenting there? There is no harm in it. No harm in it.
I've had numerous people ask me, hey, can you go review the show, or give it a star rating, an honest one, and I've done that every time someone has asked me to do that. And so once I started doing that, I kind of automatically do it now. If I'm on someone's show and I'm like, I just had an awesome experience on that show, and I'll if the only thing I can do is go on Spotify and give it a 5-star rating, then that's what I do. I'm kind of in the habit of doing that now. And I'm thinking, wow, if everybody did that, that would be awesome. Because I'm just one person out here doing it, and then I think, it'd be so nice if everybody did that for me too,
Yeah.
Sometimes this is a question. Sometimes do you feel like you're the only one giving?
At certain parts, yes. At certain parts, yes. I mean, just generally speaking, it doesn't even have to be related to my music or to the podcast or to, my label or my writing. Just generally in life, I come through certain, situations where I feel like I'm giving. and you're not really getting, the same value in return. And I mean, this just goes back to, what we discussed, as in, um, how do I take it now? Do I now come back and be miserable about it? Do I sulk about it? Of course, I'm human. I'm going to think about it. The thought is going to pop up in my head. Maybe I'll feel a bit let down for, 5-10 minutes. But then I will just go and I'll self reflect, I'll meditate, I'll pray, and I'll be like, you know what? I'm not going to let this affect me,
Yeah.
affect who Kino is. I'm not going to let it affect what my mandate in life is. I'm not going to let it affect what my purpose is, why God has put me here on this earth, because it's much more bigger than myself. And I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm just going to keep going again. And if that same person comes to me and says, Kino, can you please help me with this? I'm going to say yes, because what I feel for me is that if you don't recognize the value that I am giving to you, or the world doesn't recognize it, I know God does, and I know the universe does. And
Yeah.
I am going to get rewarded in other ways for what I am doing here. This
Right.
is more of a test. It's
Yeah.
more of God and the universe testing me to see,
Yeah.
is Kino going to become a mini now, or is he going to still say yes because I'm going to reward him, or the universe is going to reward, but it depends on what he does in that situation. That's how I take it. That's
I
how I
found
take it.
myself that at times it's like, you know what, Kim, help even if you don't want to,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and in so many different ways and different times. I don't know if where you're from, if you ever were able to see Mr. Rogers. It was a children's show here in America, and he was like a beloved character for years and years. And one thing that he said in his lifetime was, in times of trouble, always look for the helpers. Always
Yeah,
look for the helpers.
yeah.
And that's something I've never forgotten. And it's been coming up more and more. I've heard people saying that line, look for the helpers. And I'll be like, Mr. Rogers. So, I mean, it's for whatever, because there's a lot going on around the world, but also in America. I mean, there's a lot going on. And, we've got hurricanes and we've got fires that are decimating cities, and stuff like that. And I've been hearing that more and more, look for the helpers. And I'm like, we've been told to do that for decades. Why are you just now figuring it out? And then I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, Kim, but they're figuring it out. They're saying it now. Look
Yeah,
for the helpers. Because there's a lot more of us out there than people realize. There are a lot of
100%.
helpers out there. There are a lot of
Yeah,
people out there trying to toss out goodness.
100%. There is definitely more good in the world than it is bad.
Yes, there is. It's just not in our face as much as the bad,
Yeah,
through the
yeah,
media and social media and all of that. That's what, going back to what we said earlier, when you wake up in the morning, do not look at your phone first thing. Sit on the edge of your bed. Sit on the edge of your bed. Make yourself not touch that phone and ask yourself, what am I grateful for right now, right this minute?
yeah.
Don't
Well,
let
like
that
soon as you wake
let
up,
that be the
thank you.
first thing you do. Don't touch your dang phone. Ask yourself what you're grateful for first.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 100%. Thank you so much for that, Kim. Thank you. This was, yeah, wow. This was wow. This was a much needed conversation on the podcast. Really much
Thank
needed
you.
conversation.
I really, really enjoyed my time with you. So thank you for having me
Yeah,
on.
no, same here, same here. Thank you. And I mean, just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, the kindness that you are pushing out in the world as a person with your books, your content, it's needed, it's appreciated, honestly. We need to get more people to just be more kind and just eliminate all, the negativity in their surroundings, and don't let external factors, or don't let other people who haven't fixed themselves yet determine how I should act in life.
Right.
You know, that's
Yep.
it. So where can people find you, listeners find you online? Where you at?
The best place to find me is like the main hub is just my website, which is my name, kimlenglingauthor.com. And there's links to, Facebook and Instagram and all that on there, but that's the easiest place. You can, even I think you can get the The most recent podcast is on there, like automatically updates itself. So the podcast is on there. My books are on there. What I'm up to. Dexter even has his own little section of the webpage or the website, because he is my office manager. He keeps me on track and keeps me, where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah,
So I've
yeah,
named
yeah,
him my office manager. So you'll be
yeah,
able to see his little face on there and meet him too. But yeah, KimLenglingAuthor.com, easiest place. And all my books are available on Amazon.
yeah. Dexter's your mascot. He's your mascot.
He is my mascot and my office manager. There are some days that he's smarter than I am. So
Just one more question. Are you self-published or do you work through a publisher?
self-published mainly.
That's
Yep.
good.
And I began my own I started my own little publishing house to do my books, but then I help others, side gig. I do side gig stuff, help others, with their books as well. The traditional publishing route, I'm not really comfortable in that realm. I've attended a lot of writing writers conferences, and I've spoken to editors and publishers, and they're like, "Oh, this is a great idea, and this is something we'd really like to look at, but you have to jump through this. Oh, and then these 10 hoops too, and then you have no control over your book anymore." This is just my experience, and so I thought, I want to. Now, do I do it all professionally? Yes. I mean, it needs edited. You have to send that stuff out. You have to. I can't edit my own stuff because I've read it too much, So I do what needs to be done, but I prefer to self-publish, because then I still have control of the book.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to change something or add something, I can do that.
There's no red tape.
Right. And you also have, more control with like any royalties that you may or may not be blessed to receive.
Yeah.
You get a little more. Will I ever get rich on what I have out now? No, absolutely not. But I have control of it. And if I want to run a special, and I do this all the time on the books, I can change the price if I want to. I can give away as many books as I want to, so I have control over all of that. And I prefer that just because I'm more comfortable with it. And I want to be able to help people with what I write and what I put out into the world. And I think if I went the other direction with a traditional publisher, I wouldn't be able to do that as much as I can now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. And thanks for sharing it. I mean, there's so many authors, independent authors that I come across, and will listen to this because they're still trying to make the decision, should I go independent or should I still look, for a publisher? And if they musicians or inspiring musicians, should I be an independent artist or should I look for a record label? And the thing is now, in the years to come, to be independent is going to be more beneficial. The only thing is you have to put in all the work on a daily basis.
It's a lot. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of
because
work.
You don't just write a book and then you're done.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to do all of the marketing. So you have to become a professional salesperson, a professional marketer. And if you don't have the money to create all of the social graphics and, extra stuff that you need to help get your book and whatever out, you're doing that too. So you might become a graphic designer as well. 100%. I mean, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
if you love what you're doing, you're going to do it. I mean, I'm doing it and I love it.
And you're going to learn. You have to learn. You have to self-educate yourself. All the information is there online. Listening to such podcasts as this, it's there. It's for free. You can access it. It's what you need to do. You need to allocate time each and every single day to keep learning. That's how we got here ourselves. I can't say it was in school or college that I learned all that I'm doing now. No ways. No ways. I had to learn.
I'm telling you, YouTube, man, I swear by it. I've spent so many hours on YouTube for learning how to do graphic design, learning different writing techniques, or how to, bring a plot together, or do dialogue with different characters. When you're writing fiction, there is so much, like you said, online that's free that you can learn.
Yeah.
But you have to. It's time. It's a lot of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Seriously, all you
I
have to do is
mean,
look.
no one, I don't think anyone is just automatically, when you do something, automatically professional at it and becomes this raging success.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
believe that there's anything such as an overnight success.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Those overnight successes that you hear about have been slogging away in the trenches for 10 to 15 years.
100%. I mean, it was just the other day I was looking, so like I've educated myself like A to Z on entertainment law because I've ended up in situations with attorneys, and I was like, wait, let me
Uh-huh.
not go to an attorney. Let me see what I can do. Let me look at the facts. And then I started educating myself on it. And it was on Friday. It was Friday or Saturday. So, anyway, Elon Musk has now released Grok 3. So I'm like, okay. So I was like on the waiting list now to download the app to check what Grok 3 can do. So anyway, I go into Grok 3 and I'm like, please direct me to websites where I can get legal papers of past cases, you know, and it gave it to me. So I go onto the site, and I got all these legal papers of cases that's happened in the entertainment industry that I can download for free, that I can review myself to educate myself. It even gave me, the case between Live Nation and Ticketmaster, and the whole dispute that happened there, that whole antitrust, dispute that was happening at the time that affected Taylor Swift. And I got the paper and I got it for free. Now I'm like reading through this thing, and I'm learning more and more and more. So if we can do it, just by looking in the right places, anybody else
Oh,
can.
absolutely.
Anybody else can. Sorry, not can. So it's there. No, but yeah, thank you for sharing that part as well. It's definitely more beneficial to remain independent. It's going to take a lot more from you, but you got control. I mean, if someone has to come along and say, Kim, look, we would love to offer you a merchandising deal, for example, or we would like to, create a series out of your book, for example. You got that authority to say yes or no without contacting this person, that person, just
Right.
to get the bad end of the deal, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah, well, because you get shortchanged in the long, and I think
Yeah,
a lot of folks, and there are people that do wonderful being traditionally published,
yeah, yeah,
but where the big names are is like that, the top five, those big five main publishing companies. And I think I read somewhere it's like less than 10% of authors will ever reach that.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, less than
No,
10%.
sure.
Yeah. So why not do it? And I'm not advocating for one or the other. You got to do what's best for you. For me, it was best to go self-publishing. Plus, I like learning, and I'm not afraid of hard work.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid
There
to
we go.
dig in there and learn all kinds of stuff, because I had to learn all kinds of stuff about graphic design. I'm now a pro on Canva.
Yeah, you learned. You learned.
And
That's it.
I found on YouTube this married couple that teaches it, and it's all for free. Teaches all these different things on every aspect of Canva, every aspect of it. And they
Yeah.
have all these updates on new stuff whenever Canva's putting out new stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, I still watch them all the time. I've learned so much from them.
Yeah.
It's amazing what
It's
you can
there
find for free,
for free. It's there. Yeah. Just while you mentioned Canva, I came across another company where they're charging, it's like what, 99 cents? Okay, dollars 0.99, where they give you like, a short course on how to utilize Canva. So if you can't spend $0.99, right, to
Yeah.
learn how to use Canva,
Yeah.
stop. Just stop.
Now the people I watch, it's called Rondi, Ron and then Di. So the husband
Yeah.
is Ron and her name is, I think, Diana. So on Canva, that's Rondi. They're awesome and it's all free. If you can get that where you're at. I don't know how
Yeah.
that works through different countries, but yeah, it's on YouTube, and you
Check it
can find
out.
so much stuff on YouTube that's educational. Here's here's a good example. I had to fix my kitchen sink, my kitchen faucet, and I didn't know how to fix it. I had no idea. So I
Yeah.
YouTubed it, and I sat there and played that video and hit stop and play, stop over and over and over again. It took me longer than anyone else to fix the sink, but I did it.
There we
If
go.
I would have felt like paying someone hundreds of dollars to come in and fix my sink, I could have, and they would have had it done in an hour.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I did it on my own for nothing. It took me 3 hours, but I did it. And I sat there with my phone on this YouTube video. So I
Yeah.
learned how to fix my kitchen faucet.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. Just one final point is, back to fear again. Yes, there is people that are lazy, but there's also people that are scared, fear to adapt to how the world is evolving.
Yep.
I like fear is holding them back from learning about, whatever it may be, because it's that self-belief again.
Yep.
Will I be able to understand what I'm about to get told? Will I be able to do it? But if you don't try, like I'm not saying, watch this video and then all of a sudden you're going to know how to do it.
Right.
No, just like how you went to do, the plumbing. Okay,
Right.
so you look and then you try. You don't have to get it right the first time. You're gonna make an error. You're probably gonna break something, whatever. But then you just gotta keep trying, and that's the importance of consistency. You
Yep.
have to be consistent.
Yep.
You're not gonna get it right the first time.
That's right. That's right. And there are certain things that I know I will never be able to do on my own because I just won't. So there are certain things that I know I will have to hire out.
Yeah, yeah,
And I know that. So I have to do something else to be able to make sure that that happens.
yeah, yeah,
So there are certain things could I learn? Yes, but I also need to figure out where my time is best spent.
yeah, yeah,
In the
yeah.
whole, I don't know, like for instance, I'm really, really bad at math. Always have been, always will be. It's a joke in my family. They're like, don't ask him to ever make change because I'm just bad at math. So if there are certain things like with taxes or something like that, I don't do them. I know that even if I learned how to do it, I wouldn't be good at it.
Yeah,
So there are certain things I outsource. you know?
yeah.
So I know my limits, but there's so much that we all of us could learn. You'll be surprised. I think everybody, whoever's listening, you might be as surprised at how good you might be at something that you never thought you'd be able to
Yeah,
do.
yeah. Unless you go and you try and see
Just
what
try. Yeah,
happens.
you got to let fear bounce sometimes, folks, because we're only on this planet for a short period of time.
Hmm.
And you shouldn't, we're not meant to be we were not born to live a life of fear.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I love to fail. Honestly, I love to fail. I love to try something, fail, try something,
Oh,
fail,
yeah.
try something, fail. Okay, that never worked. Where else can I do it? Let me try this platform. Maybe it'll be a bit more simpler for me. Fail. I mean, now I'm learning coding, and
Oh,
coding has nothing to do with the music industry, has nothing to do with the creative space.
and see,
But I'm like,
my brain immediately is like, no, no, no
but
coding.
then I'm thinking about my end goal. My end goal is there's a few apps that I want to create that's going to be integrated into my work. So, okay, how do I go about this now? Then I found a few platforms, that makes it a bit simpler for me. And I'm like, okay, let me try a few things. I check the code, what exactly they're doing. Okay, change that and see, And there was a few mock-ups, a few demos that actually came to life. Needs a lot of work, but I mean, at least like, going on the right path now. And I'm
Yeah.
going to perfect it somehow, some way. But
Oh,
if I never
wow.
try, then, what's going to come of it?
Right.
Really what is going to
Fail.
come of it?
Someone, I don't even know where I heard this, but it was years ago. Fail forward.
Yeah. Yeah. But you
Yeah.
see, this is it. You blame the traditional educational system as well, because they never teach you to fail. You always have to pass, 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 pass. And then all these guys that get the best marks in high school, they go to university, they get the best marks. The moment they experience their first failure in life, it's like anxiety attack, anxiety
Right.
attack. You see, because you never learn how to
Yeah.
fail.
There's
Yeah.
a generation or two like that. I personally was not raised like that. My generation, we were not raised like that. But yeah, I agree. And that's sad to see because they don't know how to handle real life,
100%.
or
100%.
failure or fear.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, we're not meant to live a life in fear, but if you got to face them,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
and you're going to fail. Of course you're going to fail. No one's perfect. Not a single person is
Yeah.
perfect. No matter
Yeah.
how hard you work at it, no one is perfect. You will fail. And thank goodness for that, because if you don't fail, you'll never learn.
Thank you. You will never learn. That's it.
Yeah. I have fallen
You
flat on my face so many times.
have.
And, but I just tell myself, all right, Kim, stand back up, pull up your big girl panties. What did we just learn?
Yeah.
You
Or when
know?
you procrastinate to put out a book or to put out a track, you know, because it's a self belief again. Stop being scared to put out the book because you're scared, oh, people are not going to like it. People won't buy it. And when they read it, they're going to say, I suck. But you have to put it out to market and let the audience decide. Let the
Right.
audience decide. If it doesn't sell, doesn't mean that you just give up. You keep working on the next book. Sooner or later, even if you are 100 books down, it's going to happen for you.
That's
Look at
right.
all the famous authors. I'm going to use J.K. Rowling as an example. She always comes to mind first. How many times was she rejected with the Harry Potter series? Hello.
And then she did it herself, and boom, look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now look.
Yeah.
I shared another example on another podcast last year with Google. Google got rejected 130 times before they got a yes on an investment. So imagine if they gave up at
Oh,
130. We wouldn't have Google today.
that's interesting. I didn't
There's
know
so
that.
many. Canva, you mentioned Canva. It was founded by a lady. I think she got rejected 100 times before she got investment.
Oh, wow.
Look at that. Look at that.
Interesting. That's
So
interesting. Yeah.
yeah. So she gave up at 100. We wouldn't be using Canva today.
That is right. My background, like when I worked in like the corporate world, is all sales and marketing. And I remember one of my first bosses, he's like, I'm setting you loose. You're on your own. Hit the road. Go do your job. And I'm like, you know, it's scary doing that the first
Yeah.
time, going and doing cold calls and stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I was like, oh, I'll never be able to do this. But it turns out I was really good at it and I enjoyed it. But I will never forget. He told me, when you go out there, and this was the average back then, it might have changed, but he said, expect to ask at least 40 times and you might get one yes. You
Yeah,
might get
yeah,
one
yeah,
yes out of
yeah,
40.
yeah. Out of
And
body.
I've
Yeah.
never forgotten that because I do a lot volunteer work in my spare time. I do a lot of volunteering in my area to get donations. And I remember one year I sent out over 40 emails to different companies around the country asking for a donation for something that we were doing with my veteran post. And this was relatively close after 9/11. So our country was like very patriotic at that time. And so I'm just emailing on my lunch hour before work, sending out all these emails, well over 40. And it was all, I got so many really nice no's. They were all very nice, very pleasant. No, until I got that one yes. And that one yes well made up for all of the no's.
Yep.
I mean, just, and when that happened, so I was like, that's what my boss meant. Because I was, I was asking for, it was like when the 9/11 and we had all of our troops being shipped over to Iraq, and they didn't have a whole lot over there. Our troops did not have a whole lot, and they were asking for eye wash, and we send boxes every month to active duty military, and they didn't have any eye wash over there. The military, it wasn't being provided to them. Well, they're in the desert with sandstorms and all kinds of stuff, and not something they were used to. So I sent out so many emails to all these companies that made eye wash, that like manufactured, and they all said no, 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 until one said yes. And they sent me a semi-truckload, an
Yeah.
18-wheeler,
Yeah.
like pallets
Yeah.
and pallets and pallets. It was hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of eye wash. And I went, that was a
Wow.
heck of a yes.
Yeah. Wow.
They
Look at
called,
that.
they said, I got this call because they called me on the phone and they said, do you have a loading dock? And I went, excuse me? And I'm like, no. And they're like, well, we have a truck. I go, how big of a truck? They're like 18-wheeler. And I went, I'll find a loading dock. So where I was working at, actually, where I worked had a loading dock. So I went to my boss and said, hey, here's the deal. Well, it turns out he was a veteran too. And he's like, yes, you can use the loading dock as long as you have people here to get the stuff and get it out of here. We can't keep it here. And so I reached out, and like all the guys in my veteran post that had pickup trucks showed up and were lined up down the road. And the guy that brought the stuff was a Vietnam vet. And he's like, when I heard what you guys were doing, I asked to be the one to bring this load. It was just, you know how God works and does his thing.
Yeah.
It was one of
Steeliest
those
ways.
things. So that was my, I've never forgotten that experience. All those no's, and they were all very, very nice, polite no's. And then that one yes was just blew my mind. So don't forget that, folks. When you need something or you're looking for something, you're trying to learn something, just ask. Maybe you're going to get a no. Maybe you're going to fail forward. That's how I always look at it. Fail forward. Keep asking, because you will get a yes sometime.
Yeah. Just don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your passion. Don't give up on the objectives. As long as you truly believe in it, whatever it may be, don't give up. And if you do give up on it, it means you didn't really believe in it at all.
Ooh, yeah.
You
You go. So go out there and be a rock star, because we know you are.
Yes. Well, Kim, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. It's been an awesome conversation. Thank you.
This has been fun. Thank you so much. It's been a blessing. I've been blessed by
so many different topics, and that's what I love about it. But you know what? It's like with all the guests that come on the show, I don't like just to keep it down to the book itself.
Right.
And the
That'd be boring.
Yeah, exactly. I want the audience, and even for me, myself personally, I really want to build intimate relationships. Like, I want to get to know you, from A to Z. That's what I mean. That's what the podcast is about, A to Z, because it also relates, with the average person, listening to the show, who's looking for direction, to say, okay, look at them, Kim and Kino are actually like proper humans. They're not aliens. They're not aliens.
Here we sit with our, flaws and all.
Exactly. 100% organic. Exactly.
Yep.
But thank you so much. So, two things. So I will send you the invite for Talking Back to Suicide. And then the recording of our episode will be up in about a week or so. So it's on a Monday. I upload, the interview from the previous week. Then I give it some air to breathe. And then I will upload your show, and I'll send you all the links.
Okay, awesome. And I would like
Okay.
to invite you. I would like to invite you to be on Let Fear Bounce.
No problem. Thank you. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that. Thank
No,
you.
I
Yeah, I
think
would love
I
to.
think it'd be a fun conversation.
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah, yeah. Cool. No, let me know. You can send me an email and then we can set up a time.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I would actually love to see, you know, there's been, yeah, there's been one, but that was a while back. Yeah, so it's been a while. I want to see like myself on the opposite side, you know, on the opposite side getting interviewed.
Well, it's interesting. I remember
Yeah,
when I was first, like, Mickey was first sending me to different podcasts and stuff. I
yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
this is different to be on the other side of the mic,
yeah, yeah.
to not be the
No,
one, asking questions and stuff like that. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
it's
that'll
fun.
be cool. Yeah, that'll be cool. Thank you for that opportunity. Especially, I mean, on the topic of fear, I can share my experiences, how, I've overcome fear
Yeah.
and what I had to do, to get to this level. So that'll be quite cool. Okay, cool. So I'm going to send you an invite and then you'll send me an invite and then we take it from there.
All right. Awesome.
So just yeah. So to give you a heads up, so I got my podcast on a Monday. I got Talking Back to Suicide on a Tuesday, and then on a Thursday is my podcast again. So Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, I'm all yours.
Okay. Okay.
Or do
Then
you
I
have a
will.
specific date? Do you have a specific date that you do your
I
show?
typically record on Tuesdays, but I'm always open to other people because you're also 7 hours ahead of me.
Yeah.
So I'm cognizant of all of that. So I have changed things around to do like on a weekend. Like I'm doing one on a Sunday for someone because that's literally the only day they're available because they work full time,
Yeah.
during the week. So I'm completely open to that. So I'll probably just ask you to send me like 2 or 3 days that you're available your time, and I'll look at my schedule and then send you a link for that day. Because if I send you my scheduling link, it's only showing Tuesdays because that's when I typically
Yeah.
record.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. No,
yeah,
that's
if that's probably how I think that's probably easiest. You send me like 2 or 3 days, and then I'll look at my calendar and make sure I remember you're 7 hours ahead. and,
yeah.
and figure
Yeah.
it might be easier. Well, we'll see. We'll see. You just tell me what day. Give me 2 or 3 days
I don't
that
know, it's completely up to you because I mean, it depends how soon you want to do it. I mean,
well,
you
my
know,
my my episodes right now from like they're about 8 weeks out. So
oh, okay, okay,
yeah,
okay.
they're about 8 weeks out. Now, of course, I can always change that because it's my show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Okay.
can move different people in and out. And I've done that too. Say if someone has something coming up, they're doing a book launch. I'm like, all right, I'll sneak you in here in this week then and just shift my schedule around. But
Okay, no, it's
typically,
up to you. Okay, so I mean, you can tell me when's when it'll be like Wednesday.
no,
Uh,
I record, like we can record like next week if you want, but it's like it won't air
it'll
for,
air. Yeah.
up to
Okay.
like 8 weeks from the date of recording
Okay. So
is
how
what I'm
about we just we can do this? I mean, next week you can tell me which is going to suit you best, either Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Let me know, and then take it from there.
Okay, so yeah, that's right. Wednesday, Friday, Saturday,
Saturday
Sunday.
or
Okay,
Sunday.
you did say that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, super.
Yeah. Perfect. And then between six, why I love doing it between 6 and 7 is because the lighting is much more better on my end.
So 6 and 7. So that's 11 or 12 my time, 11 a.m. or noon my time.
Yeah. So you let me know between those days at that time what will
Okay.
work for you, and you tell me whether you want to do it at 6 my
Yeah.
time or 7 my time.
Are you like in your home? You do this in your home?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I got a studio built, at home.
Oh, okay. This is just my office. I turn this little
Yeah.
extra bedroom into an office. Okay, awesome.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much for that opportunity.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I
Yeah,
think it'll be fun.
yeah. That's going to be quite cool being on the opposite side of things. As I said, it's been a while since this happened for me.
Oh, okay. Well then, We'll make it fun.
Yeah, it's just that, as my podcast has escalated over the last couple of months, it's just been, as I say, I'm pushing out 30 a week. So
Yeah, that's a
really,
lot to be a week.
rarely do you get the chance to say, okay, you know what, maybe I should put, myself out there for people to interview me, because 3 a week already is so hectic. But because someone like now you is asking me on the show, I'm like, cool, yeah, let's do it. Plus, I love the topic of your show.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't invite me on the show to talk about, how to be a chef.
Right. Or fishing, right?
Yeah, or fishing, that's gonna be like, okay.
Well, if just what I would need from you is a photo, like a headshot, or just a good photo, and your bio,
Perfect.
and then
Perfect.
and also with any links that you would want me to share, like in the show description and all of that.
Okay.
So that's well, this, the deal, how it works. So just if you could send me a headshot and your bio and any links that you want shared.
Okay, perfect.
And then
Yeah, no
we'll
problem at
figure
all.
out a day and time and get her done.
Cool. Yeah, no, you check your schedule for next week and then you tell me, and then we're good to go.
All right. Awesome. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you so much, Kim. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will catch you next week.
All right. Thank you. Have a good
All
evening.
right, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.